Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And today is Taco Tuesday.
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos. It's raining tacos. Out in the street. Tacos. All you can eat. Lettuce and shells. Cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yummity yum. It's like a treat.
I'm sorry. Got a little excited there for a minute. Yes, we call it Taco Tuesday because, well, it is, what I love about tacos, once again, and I know I tell you this every Tuesday, but it's to me, it's the quintessential American food, and it is exemplary of the diversity, but as well as the American spirit, where we can basically take something that was brought to us, something that was brought to the party by a particular culture, and now we have made it our own, as we do many things in American. American tacos are uniquely American. Anyway, so good stuff. Gonna have a good time here on Taco Tuesday. Thank you so much once again for joining us. Mikey is still in New York City, so I'm hoping that, they haven't kidnapped him or anything like that. So, but hopefully we'll have him back tomorrow for Hump Day. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into the news today. But before we do, once again, let's give a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start with Hitman Industries. If you own an AR, if you purchased an AR recently, then chances are you already have one of their barrels. But these folks make the premier rifle and pistol length barrels. So you want to check them out at hitmanindustries.net. And as Mike always says, coming soon, they're going to have Glock barrels. So check them out once again at hitmanindustries.net. Give them a holler. And by the way, if you're a first responder, get your first responder discount. Once again, there at Hitman Industries. Then we have the California Republican Assembly. Ronald Reagan referred to CRA as the conscience of the Republican Party. I like to call them the Republican wing of the Republican Party in California, working to help elect conservatives from school board all the way up to President of the United States. Folks, this is the largest and fastest growing grassroots conservative organization in the state of California. Already this year, they've chartered 5 more chapters, and they have 5 more in the process. Folks, they have grown. I'm telling you, you got to check them out. CRAGOP.org. That's CRAGOP.org. Become a part of California's future today. Join CRA. Then we've got Hog Holsters. Whether you're looking for inside the waistband or outside the waistband, whether you're looking for tactical holster or you're looking for concealed carry holster, trust me, they've got what you're looking for. If you got an optical on there that you're concerned, maybe their holster's not going to fit, or maybe you have a light on there, whatever accessories you have, trust me, they have the setup for you. Just visit them at hogholsters.com. That's hogholsters.com. Make sure you use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. And you get your discount. So check them out, hogholsters.com, helping America wear guns. Then we've got uscombatgear.com, the place to go if you need outdoor gear, whether it's cold weather gear, warm weather gear, rain gear, whether you need backpacks, hats, helmets, sunglasses, boots, you name it, they've got it. They've got excellent prices, great customer service, fast shipping, veteran owned and operated. Check them out now at uscombatgear.com. All right, let's get into the program here. We're going to start with impeachment. Now, folks, as noted in the title of this particular program, I will tell you the evidence is mounting fast. And when I say evidence, I mean real evidence. Right? I'm not talking about the sort of stuff that they came up with against President Trump. In fact, I'll get back to that in a second. Well, no, I'll just tell you now. So, in fact, what we're finding out now was that the first impeachment trial of President Trump, well, let's just say when he was asking them to investigate the Bidens, it was for a reason. right? And now we're finding out more and more about, well, we're finding out more and more about, now we're finding out more and more about some of this stuff. We are starting to realize that, well, impeachment may wind up being inevitable. In fact, there's tons of stories out right now where Kevin McCarthy is basically saying, look, I don't know, this is starting to reach impeachment level stuff. You know, they don't have some fake phone call, some whistleblower from some phone call. There, in this case, you have a whistleblower who basically is a friend of Hunter Biden, who worked with Hunter Biden, who is a business partner with Hunter Biden, who's supposed to be coming to Congress in order to testify against Hunter Biden. And that's what they're saying here. So they're saying this cohort is going to link Biden to Son's shady business deals. Now, what they're saying, and what this guy has basically been saying, is that they actually had like phone calls, right? Like, well, they would do phone calls with they would be him and Hunter would be together, and they would actually Hunter would actually get his father on the phone. Get his father on the phone. He would make promises. Then he would get his father on the phone. His father would get on the phone and do all sorts of vague comments, like not really confirming what his son has said, but pretty much knowing that he's talking to a business partner of his son's. And by the way, this is not after he was out of office. This was while he was in office, right? There's actually one instance where he met with some Ukrainian businessmen or some folks from Burisma, and he met with them from Burisma. He got his dad on the phone. His dad, talked with them for a little bit, didn't commit to doing anything, but talked to them a little bit. And basically what they were doing, they were showing access, and he's showing that he had access. Well, sure enough, not too long after that, Hunter and Grandpa Joe, or Papa Joe, they fly off on Air Force Two to Ukraine, and lo and behold, that is the time in which the prosecutor got fired, where he basically, and he's on video saying that he told them, look, if you don't fire this guy, you're not going to get this $1 billion in aid. So turns out Biden did first of all, we already knew this. We already knew that Biden, there's evidence, there's physical evidence because he said it. There's already evidence that Biden did exactly what Trump got impeached for. Now we know, or at least there are links that are now tying Joe Biden and the money and Hunter Biden to all of this. Now, those of us in conservative circles already knew that because we knew the laptop was real 3 years ago, right? Not long after the FBI knew that it was real. And I still go back to all of this because the main thing that we've got here is we've got whistleblowers from the IRS that are talking about how the Department of Justice slow-rolled the investigation. I mean, it's really kind of obvious here, folks. And this is the sort of stuff that presidents should get impeached for, right? Not just the fact that he, while in office, it appears that he's been taking bribes or kickbacks, but then on top of it, now his Department of Justice is covering it up. Yeah. But nope. There's nothing to see here. According to Democrats, there's absolutely, positively nothing to see here. Here, according to the Washington Times, says mounting evidence shows President Biden was involved in his family's shady foreign business deals, and looming testimony from a former associate would make it harder for the White House to refute charges of influence peddling and bribery. Now, here's what's interesting about it. You'll notice even the conversations, even the terms that are being used by like KJP, right? How many times has she said, or has the president said, I never talked to Hunter about his business. I never talked to Hunter about his business. Now, all of a sudden, she's saying the president was not in business with his son. Yeah, no, that's not what you said. I forgot. She said, I've said it many times. The president was not in business with his son. Yet, no, that's not what you said. That's not what you said at all. What you said was he never talked to his son about his business. Now we know that's not true. We know it based on information that's come from Hunter Biden's laptop. We know it because Bob Alinsky, right? You remember that guy from a couple of years ago who came out and was like, yeah, no, he told us, he talked about the business dealings. Now here's another guy, and once again, these are not people these are not like crazy, these are not conservatives that are coming out to attack him. These are business people who were doing business with the Bidens. These are their friends that are turning on them. Yeah, we could very easily, and Kevin McCarthy has come out and said, yeah, it's looking more and more like we could be dealing with, we could definitely be dealing with an impeachment, articles of impeachment here, because once again, this is the sort of stuff that you eventually wind up getting impeached over. Now, and it's weird. It's also kind of weird because I think back to, when everything was going on with the impeachment trial for President Trump. And I remember that the media was like, oh my God, there are these whistleblowers and we need to believe the whistleblowers and protect the whistleblowers. But now all of a sudden, folks like MSNBC, and they're not the only ones, but all of a sudden, whistleblowers aren't quite as sacred as they once were.
There's a big story in the Washington Post about a whistleblower inside the Trump administration.
Breaking news, Donald Trump busted.
If there is an allegation of misconduct involving classified information and the President of the United States and some improper promise, surely there has to be a way for that information to get to Congress.
This isn't optional. It's mandated by law.
Now, before we go any further tonight, I want to tell you that alone is a bombshell.
The Director of National Intelligence is trying to cook up some crazy privilege thing that excuses them from following the whistleblower law.
Our big question today is, why is this whistleblower being silenced?
Harry, what does it say that Republicans are trying to misappropriate the whistleblower term?
They make things up, and they have all of these so-called whistleblowers.
Just to try to create this atmosphere around President Biden that he must have done something wrong.
Yeah, I mean, there is a political farce here.
This is how they're using their power.
Create this impression that somehow he's done something wrong and he's corrupt.
For every Republican accusation is a confession. It's all projection.
It's so beyond, right? It doesn't even present as legitimate political oversight or discourse.
And so what this showed clearly is that there was no special treatment with Hunter Biden.
I want to thank the folks over at the Washington Free Beacon for providing that video. But think about that. I mean, now, mind you, the interesting thing about it is that all they're doing, all you see the talking heads doing, is tearing down the whistleblowers, right? But check this out. This is Google News, right? Now, think about this. There are now two IRS whistleblowers. One, both of them are career investigators. One of them is a devout Democrat, so they don't have any real issues here. But I'm like, so you got that. Now you've already had one of Biden's business partners come out and say something a couple of years ago. Now you've got another one who's coming out. But look here, look at the Google News. Look, do you see anything? Here you have, and by the way, this is what they do now, right? This is what they do is they talk about Republicans' reaction. So in other words, they're talking about Republicans talking impeachment, but what they're not talking about is the reason why they're talking impeachment. What they're not pointing to in any of the things that they're pointing to has to do with exactly what is going on here. All of this money that is exchanged hands, all of this money, you had Hunter Biden flying around the world to pick up cash for his family. You have 9 different Biden family members collecting in total, I think it was $17 million. And look, nothing. Absolutely nothing about it. Absolutely nothing in the news about it. Nobody cares. They act as if no one cares. And then we wonder why. We wonder what is going on. And, you know, I will say this. I appreciate and I like the way that that this is being handled. I like the way that Kevin McCarthy is dealing, because the whole goal is this, is that unlike what they did with Donald Trump, where they just said, we're going to impeach him, right? Unlike Marjorie Taylor Greene tried to do, we're just going to impeach him. What Kevin McCarthy is doing is laying out the case. They're having these hearings, and Jim Jordan is leading the way, leading the charge here. You've got Corner. You've got him. They're leading the way. They are bringing in people who are not conservatives. They're not Republicans. They're not part of the establishment. These are career people, and they're bringing together facts, data, and information. They're bringing together corroborated concerns, and they're pointing to two things. Two things here we're talking about. And if I'm repeating myself, forgive me. The first thing that they're talking about is bribery and access peddling. Now, access peddling when he's not president is not a crime. But now we're finding out that there was access peddling while he was in office, while he was vice president. So there's that, right? But then there's also the interference. There is the Department of Justice refusing to look into these. And that's the reason why, by the way, folks, that's the reason why they refuse to look into the tax stuff. Because once you start following the money leads to the Biden family and to the big guy himself. Anyway, let's see. We've got Magnet. Oh, hey, Magnet. Good to see you, brother. I know I agree with you, Magnet. We definitely should impeach him. But once again, it's a process. Here's the thing. Even guilty people deserve due process. And what I like about what they're doing is he's getting his due process, and they're working at it at a feverish pace. What I'm hoping we will eventually see is that as the stuff starts to come out, that eventually we'll start to see we'll see it. We'll get it to the point where Democrats are either going to have to fall in line and realize, no, he's got to go, or that they won't, and then we vote their asses out, or the people will vote their asses out. But who knows? Anyway, Jim, thank you so much. I'm glad you appreciate the program. Do me a favor, however you're watching us. I see you're watching us on Facebook. Share it on your timeline. Let folks know this is the place to be around this time. But yeah, it is beyond frustrating that you have to go through all of this stuff when we all know that he is so clearly guilty of influence peddling and then trying to cover it up. But I hate that our country is starting to look like a banana republic. But this stuff has got to be handled. It's got to be rooted out. It's got to be dealt with. And I need you to understand something as well. This is not the only. There have been under Republican administrations where the Department of Justice and various other agencies have been guilty of political bias. I hate to say this, but it has been. But part of that is also that there is a thing in the bureaucracy and the swamp, shall we say, where they don't really care about either party. They care about increasing their power, right? Increasing their authority. And that is the thing that we've got to get rid of. It's not just reducing the influence of the political appointees, but then there's the career bureaucrat that sees their department, their agency as their fiefdom. And they use it to wield power even over the electeds. And they are there when the elected person that you like or the elected person that you hate is gone. Long after they've left, these bureaucrats are still around. So there's a lot of swamp that needs to be cleaned out. And I am hoping that whoever the Republican is that winds up winning, if it is Donald Trump, I'm hoping that he fulfills his commitment and drains the swamp. Speaking about the swamp, let's talk about the swamp thing. I mean, Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris came out the other day and had made a statement about the new Black History curriculum or guidelines. in the state of Florida. And what's interesting about it is she literally. Well, I'll play her words for you, and then you can then we'll talk a little bit about them.
Adults know what slavery really involved. It involved rape. It involved torture. It involved taking a baby from their mother. So in the context of that, how is it that anyone could suggest that in the midst of these atrocities, that there was any benefit to being subjected to this level of dehumanization? In the midst of these atrocities, that there was some benefit.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about that. So she talked about how basically she is saying that they're supposed to teach middle schoolers that that there were actually benefits to slavery, and that actually is not what the curriculum said. And I have here a couple of clips from one of the individuals who actually was on the working committee that came up with these points. Really what the point was that they were saying is, first of all, there were like 109 pages. And it covered everything that she just mentioned is all covered as points that are to be covered in the curriculum or in the teaching of Black history. But what they did point out was that there were instances where some did learn trades that would benefit them after they were saved, or that they could utilize. And I want you to understand, this is the context in which they included or recommended that be included. And here it goes.
So there's been a little bit of backlash to these standards that were put out, and like you said, that these were done in open sessions so the public could listen or watch along. What would you say to critics who say these standards have set education back?
Well, I can't answer critics whom I haven't seen or heard. The only criticism I've encountered so far is a single one that was articulated by the vice president, and which was an error. As I stated in my response to the vice president, it was categorically false. It was never said that slavery was beneficial to Africans. What was said, and anyone who reads this will see this with clarity, it is the case that Africans proved resourceful, resilient, and adaptive, and were able to develop skills and aptitudes which served to their benefit, both while enslaved and after enslavement.
So that's the context in which he was stating that. And the idea here wasn't to show that, slave owners were attempting to do something or did something that was, quote unquote, beneficial to blacks or to slaves. But what he's really trying to get here is, once again, the resilience of those who survived slavery, so as not to just, once slavery was over, so as not to just survive it, but in some cases were able to take what they got and thrive. And that's what he's talking about here.
This was a group effort, along with everyone on the task force. Do you have a message to people out there who may be only consuming this news through a broadcast like ours or reading on the internet? Is there a message that you want to send to people out there about this task force and the product that it delivered to the state?
Yes, I would certainly say to people, I know that people can't engage in the in-depth research which stands behind many of the task force members and a product like this, but they need to know that it is available to them. They can read John Hope Franklin, who wrote an extensive work on the history of Africans from the 17th century well into the 19th century, which shows copious examples of what we describe. Similarly, Henry Louis Gates, whose slave narratives offer examples also, and Paul Finkelman's Encyclopedia of African American History, or the more recent work by David Hackett Fisher on African founders. And I would ask people to bear in mind that when we talk about the resourcefulness of those people subject to the oppression of slavery, we're not talking only about the United States. We're talking about people worldwide, and particularly in the islands before they came often to the United States, as well as those who came directly from Africa. We're talking about the experience of oppression and how people respond to the experience of oppression. And we want people to recognize that there's an opposite to Stockholm syndrome. People don't necessarily simply embrace their oppressors when they're oppressed. They also react adaptively, and they find ways to make pathways for themselves, even in the presence of oppression. And that's what calls upon their resourcefulness, their resilience, and their adaptability. And from these things, we begin to see how it becomes possible for some people to see that even though people were enslaved, they made great contributions to the growing prosperity of this society.
So that's the context. Now, you don't have to like the context, but the context is not what the vice president is trying to claim it is, not what Democrats are trying to claim it is. They are just flat out lying. And the worst part is that most people will never hear what this individual had to say. They will never get a chance to hear his words and hear the understanding. Because, by the way, most people aren't going to go and read the actual guidelines. Because if they did, as he stated in the first clip, they would probably get this. They would probably understand what it is that he's talking about. But in today's TikTok culture, in today's Reels culture, where you only really watch something that's about 60 seconds to 90 seconds, or you take as gospel the stuff that comes out of the trap of folks who we know are not the sharpest knives in the drawer, but have an agenda of their own. We know exactly what's going on. We know exactly what's going on with some of those folks. I had a comment here over at OpsLens from Mary. I'm going to go ahead and read this comment here. This is from Mary Atkinson Snyder. She says, Impeachment is a process. I can understand why people are impatient. It looked like the impeachment of our president, Mr. Trump, was done quickly, but you need to remember the Democrats or Democrats. There you go. Were poised to do it from the time he announced that he was running for president. They were working. Let's see here. They were working on it for over 3 years. So yes, they were working on it for over 3 years. Looks like we've got another comment here from Charlie. Charlie says, teach U.S. history, reading, writing, and arithmetic, sciences, eliminate all racism references. Slavery in the U.S. ended in 1865 after 5 years of civil war and bloodshed, and the hatred Obama inflicted on the USA. Charlie, here's where I will disagree with you. And because keep in mind, slavery ended, and by the way, slavery changed the entire culture of a large group of people in this country. That's number one. And then when slavery ended, you still had after that over 100 years of Jim Crow and racist stuff going on in the South, mostly pushed by Democrats. But you still had that going on. And I'll give you this example. I am a part of the first generation to grow up equal under the law, meaning after the 1964 Civil Rights Act. So it's important for us to know and understand our history. We need to talk about it because slavery did have a great impact on our country. It did. And it was the if you want to talk about the big stain on our country when it was founded, it was that. And the founders knew it was that. They knew it had to end. And I think talking about how horrific it was and understanding that, but also understanding the tremendous sacrifice that America paid, that whites and blacks blacks and whites, paid in order to end that institution, I think it's vitally important that we know, understand, and recognize that, because that is a part of who we are. That is a part of our legacy. And you don't want to ignore legacy. You don't want to do like what they're trying, like what Democrats want to do. They want to erase anything that they disagreed with from the past. My problem is that if you do not learn from history, you are doomed to repeat it. And if you ignore history, you can't learn from it. So anyway, Charlie, that's my 2 cents. That's my 2 cents on it. I get what you're saying, though. We shouldn't be focusing on racism. And by the way, slavery is a big part of U.S. history. So I don't disagree with your concept, your idea about teaching about U.S. history. But anyway. All right, we're going to move on to our last story of the day, and this has to do with the folks down there in Philadelphia. Now, what they're doing in Philadelphia is they're targeting FFLs, or firearms retailers. Now, we have known for well over a decade that there are a handful of firearms retailers that, for some reason, seem to be the bulk of where straw purchases or crime guns are being found. Right? In this particular case, they tied it specifically to some gun shops there in Philadelphia. In fact, let me pull up the story here for you, and let me read it for you. So they're targeting these gun stores with lawsuits. All right. It says here, Philly targets firearm vendors in straw purchasing lawsuit. The city is suing 3 gun shops for being the source of over 1,300 firearms used in crimes throughout the city and over the course of 4 years. It says here, Philadelphia officials are taking aim at gun vendors who they claim have provided criminals with more than 1,300 of the firearms used in crimes committed in the city over the course of 4 years. Our administration is committed to using every possible legal means to stop the flow of illegal guns into our streets, said Philadelphia Mayor Jim Kearney. On Tuesday, officials unveiled a lawsuit against several firearms vendors, Frank's Gun Shop and Shooting Range, and Delia's Gun Shop, both located in Northeast Philadelphia, along with Tanner's Sports Center, located in Jameson in Bucks County, citing allegations that claim these shops recklessly and repeatedly engaged in straw purchasing transactions that helped fuel gun violence in Philadelphia. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this, because there's a good and there's a bad here. The good is that if they're recognizing that there are certain, looking into entities this is a large number of straw purchases. I mean, if you can prove that they were straw purchases, then there's a problem here. All right. If you can prove and provide evidence, maybe do some sort of undercover investigation, try to find out exactly how this is happening. These firearms retailers, if there is a disproportionate number of firearms that are turning out to be crime guns that are sold from these stores, there needs to be an investigation. I don't know that a lawsuit basically attempting to put them out of business, because, the city, they're going to spend whatever money they can spend. And the gun stores, well, they're only going to be able to spend as much money as they have, right? Which probably isn't as much as the city can afford to put up. My question is it the gun store owner? Is it actually the gun store? Or are people, what is going on here? We need to find that out. And the idea of utilizing civil lawsuits to go after firearms retailers, to go after people who could be just simply doing everything legal, but in the end, they're not going to have their guilt or innocence actually proved. In many cases, they may wind up just being put out of business just because, the city has more money. It's like playing poker. It's like playing no limit poker, right? You don't have to be the best poker player if you can just simply keep raising the stake or raising the pot to the point where the other person or the other players can't afford to stay in the hand. And if they keep having to fold, eventually you are going to go, if you just go all in, they are not going to be able to cover your bet, and they're eventually just going to be out of the game. And that's what they're looking to do here. They're looking to play no-limit poker with these businesses. And once again, that means that justice may or may not be done. And I'm not in favor of that. That's the downside. So anyway, so I said there was an upside and a downside. That's the downside. Anyway, it's a major concern there. And I think that the people who need to be doing this, instead of trying to take away firearms from individuals, the people who really need to be looking at this are the people over at the ATF, right? They're the ones that really should be looking into this. And I'm assuming, maybe I'm wrong, I'm assuming that they have. I would find it hard to believe that they haven't, and that they haven't found anything legally wrong. If I'm wrong, tell me. But I'm assuming somewhere in this lawsuit, somewhere in here, we're going to find out from the ATF. We're going to hear something from the ATF about their investigations. But like I said, I think the idea of suing a business with the intent of putting them out of business simply by running up the tab, I think is a bad idea. And I think it's a wrong way to try and, if your goal is to reduce violence, I don't think that's a positive way to do it. I think it's a really negative way to do it. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. All right, we're going to now move on to, let's see here, where are we at? We are now on our parting shots. Parting Shots is brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. All right. Our first one, and now there is a whistleblower, another whistleblower, and I'm assuming, or I'm hoping that the press and the media will take this whistleblower seriously, because this is actually a White House whistleblower. And here's what they're saying. There's a silhouette of an old gentleman. It says breaking news. Anonymous White House whistleblower comes forward. White House whistleblower claims strangers drag him from place to place and make him sign papers and read words on monitors, and he hardly gets any ice cream. Wow, I'm wondering exactly who this whistleblower could be. Doesn't make any sense to me. I have no idea who it could possibly be, but kind of looks like someone, and I won't say, I don't want to out his real name. Looks like someone named Bo Biden. Bo Biden, there you go. Sounds like Joe Biden. Moving right along. Election integrity. This is always a good one. If you remember the movie, The Sixth Sense, we have the little boy who says, "I see dead people." And then you have Bruce Willis who's asking him, what are the dead people doing? They're voting by mail. Yes, they are. Uh-oh. Hope I don't get in trouble for that one. Hope I don't lose my channel talking about that one. And then finally, we have a combination of two stories that have been brought together. One of them being Snow White, the new release of the new live action Snow White. And then the other is cocaine in the White House. And you can already tell exactly what that's going to bring us to. Snow White House, cocaine found. Blow Biden's West Wing. So now he's not Joe Biden. He's Blow Biden. I know. And you know what's coming next, right? Yeah, I'm sure you do.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Oh, gotta love it, gotta love it, gotta love it, gotta love it. All right, folks. Well, hey, that's going to be it for today's program. Please make it a point to like and share the program. Let your friends know all about it. But, almost forgot. Before we go, got to make a shout out once again to our sponsors. Hitman Industries. Visit them at hitmanindustries.net. Rifle and pistol length barrels available. Become a part of California's future today. Join CRA. And then we've got Get Your Hog Holster at hogholsters.com. Use discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. Finally, outdoor gear, camping gear, tactical gear, hot gear, heat gear, winter gear, summer gear, whatever you're looking for, you'll find it at uscombatgear.com. And with that, we're going to go ahead and call it a day. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we will be back tomorrow. And hopefully Mikey will be back with us. We'll be back tomorrow on Hump Day. Till then, y'all stay safe. Have a good time.